episode number 4 of the Health One podcast. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit more in depth about body image, about diet culture, about dieting, about, I suppose, these extremes of health versus weight loss, and I want to help bring you into that middle ground area where we don't have to disregard our health, all in the strive for this perfect body. And I say perfect in inverted commas because it doesn't exist, okay? I did obviously talk about my journey, my personal journey in the previous podcast episode, so if you haven't listened to that already, go back and have a listen to it. I spoke about my body image issues, body dysmorphia, my journey with eating disorders, and how I morphed from multiple different eating disorders along the way, and how I was actually so unaware of what was going on within myself, because I was unaware of I suppose diet culture and everything that I'm going to talk about today. So yeah, last episode, very personal episode. This episode I'm going to talk about, I suppose, more practical tips that you can take away from yourself, actually raise more awareness, because still people don't know about diet culture. People don't know about how consumed by it that we all are, how we're affected by it on a daily basis, whether it's in our personal environment or whether it's in our online social media environment and magazines and so on. So I actually just want to start. I don't know, this just came to me as I was driving here. So this is my last week in Bali, and I was stressing over things when I was on my drive, and I was thinking about this, that and the other personal things, and then I just paused for a sec and I was like, bitch, you are on your way to work, which your definition of work is to go to a recording studio in Bali, the sun is shining, literally driving your bike, listening to music. Take a fucking moment and appreciate and have some gratitude. So I want you just to pause. This is just, I don't know if I'll do this every episode or just every so often, but just pause, have a think about something that you're grateful for right now, okay? Like, pause the episode, really think about it, really feel into gratitude, not toxic positivity. So if you're actually not feeling so good right now, that's fine, acknowledge that too, but you can find one thing that you're grateful for, okay? You can. I think a lot of the time people think, oh, gratitude, this, that, and the other, it doesn't have that much of an impact on your life, but it really fucking does. There's actual studies on gratitude, on practicing it daily, of how it's impacting people's lives massively. So I want you just to think of one. If you can think of 3, absolutely go for it. If you can write it down, even better. But I want you to just, most importantly, is to feel into that appreciation. Like, your gratitude right now might be that you get to listen to a podcast and you get to listen to this on a little bit of a timeout, a little bit of a me time. Maybe it could be that you are going for a walk. Maybe it could be that you have something to look forward to later on today. Maybe it is that you're eating something amazing right now. Maybe it is that you're connecting with someone later on. Maybe it just is that you are outside in nature, or that you are happy to be where you are currently in life, or that you're taking action by listening to this podcast to change your life. So there is definitely one thing that you can find right now, and I'd like you to just feel into it before we get started. So I would have briefly touched on body image and diet culture and all that good stuff. Well, not that good stuff in the last podcast episode, but I want to really go in depth about what diet culture is, because I don't think a lot of people know about it still. So I want people to understand what the divide is between diet culture and anti-diet, okay? There's these two extremes. Diet culture is really anything that favors dieting, that favors fat loss, that favors weight loss, that favors shrinking yourself, that favors doing everything in the sacrifice for a better body. And I say better body in quotes again. It's this ideal of thinness, this ideal of a certain body shape or size that we should strive for, which is constantly evolving. So what we all are blissfully unaware of is the goalposts are shifting for what society or what the media will actually consider to be the perfect body, or the best looking body, or the best looking face, or whatever. Plastic surgery is involved, like restricted dieting to the point where people are deprived as fuck. Their relationships are suffering, their mental health is suffering. There's a lot of different things that people are, I suppose their priorities are in the wrong place, okay? So in the last few years, I suppose that kind of curvy image, and there's actually very funny memes on this about so you want big boobs, small waist, and someone, I think they got men to answer the questions of what their ideal body shape was, and then somebody drew it up and it literally looked like a blow up Barbie doll, or a blow up whatever those inflatable dolls are, and it just looks so ridiculously unrealistic. But that's the expectations that they have, and it's not just men, by the way. I'm not going to start this podcast bashing men and being it's all men's fault and fuck the patriarchy and all that kind of shit. That's not what this is about. This is just about helping you understand and bring more of an awareness to how the content we consume on a daily basis really fucks with our heads, okay? So we are that Kim Kardashian, those kind of Kardashian is kind of the looks at the moment. But again, if you actually look at trends, that is shifting. It's shifting in a very, very, well, I wouldn't even say that the Kim Kardashian way wasn't that harmful. It definitely was. People got BBLs, people got breast jobs, people got liposuction, people wore waist trainers, all that kind of shit. Okay, that's all diet culture. Now what we can actually see is that it's shifted in the opposite direction, back towards like the early 2000s. What year is that? Like the noughties, naughty. But it's shifting towards that kind of anorexic Kate Moss look where everyone was suffering with an eating disorder. So this is why it's very dangerous, because if we constantly strive for a body that we have no idea what it took for that person to achieve that body, and for that person like that, so there could absolutely be people who naturally are curvy, who naturally are thinner, who naturally are whatever. But I suppose what we need to move away from is this idea that one is better than the other. We need to move more towards the idea that diversity is important, because diversity is fucking normal, okay? There's a great quote that I love, and it's about authenticity, and it's about why fit in when you're born to stand out. I remember hearing that. So 2017, the year that I changed my whole life, I saw that quote and it stuck with me so much, because I always tried to fit in. When I spoke about like external validation, people pleasing, all that kind of stuff, always trying to do things so that I could be accepted, so that people could like me, so whatever. Not realizing that I am unique in myself and that I'm the only person that needs to like me. Anyone else is a bonus, but if I don't even like myself and I'm completely deprioritizing my own needs, really self-abandoning time and time again just to be liked by others, that's not a life to live, okay? So what we want to do is accept all bodies are beautiful, all bodies are normal, all bodies are welcome, okay? We don't need to change our appearance to be liked, to be accepted, to fit in as a member of society, okay? That's what the main point is. So this anti-diet movement, body positivity movement, was created, I suppose, to drive against diet culture, to move away from constantly changing our appearances to be accepted, to be liked, to be validated, whatever, and focusing on health, focusing that, like, just like I said as well, we have no idea how these people in these idealized bodies were, how they achieved that, okay? They might have eating disorders, they might have starved themselves, they might have got plastic surgery, they might have got face fillers, the whole lot. And why are we striving for this idea of perfect that actually isn't realistic in the first place? So it's really about taking us all out of this brainwashed fairy tale land, not fairy tale, taking us all out of this brainwashed little world that we're living in, online and in real life, and coming back down to fucking reality, okay? That's what it's all about. So anti-diet did start, and like I said in the previous episode, when I started listening to stuff about the health at every size, okay, and the anti-diet movement, I was really like, that's as if I was probably a little bit fatphobic at the start, and I want to try and use some terms today as well to help people understand like what's toxic, what's actually not okay to say, and what assumptions aren't okay to assume. And really working with my clients, I've really understood that we cannot make an assumption of what someone's health is like based on their appearance, based on their weight, based on their size, okay? It's just, that's not an assumption that we can conclude. Like I said, these people in these smaller bodies or these idealized bodies can be completely unhealthy, like I was when I literally was doing, when I was so obsessed and I was chasing that goal of abs, when I was body checking every day, when my mental health was at its ultimate lowest, I was so severely unhealthy. But you would look at me and associate me as being a picture of health, as being extremely fit, as being someone people would have actually like strived for that type of body, okay? But I wasn't healthy. I wasn't fucking healthy, okay? Likewise, working with clients, I have seen that they may be in a bigger body, okay? And they might face scrutiny, shame, really, really not nice, really nasty comments time and time again about their weight. And they take that and they internalize that, okay? They might actually be borderline eating disorders, or might have had eating disorders where they're literally not eating anything. And there's this whole movement with this calories in versus calories out, eat less, move more. They're moving a lot. they're eating fuck all, so much to the point that their metabolism is a little bit fucked, especially if they've got PCOS. So we have to spend a lot of time really focusing on their metabolism, really focusing on reversing those adaptations that has happened as a result of them having chronic low energy availability, of them being in a really unhealthy state. Okay, so topic for another day. I'll speak about PCOS in another episode, but this is where we can't make these assumptions. A lot of people would have assumptions based on, I'm going to call some out here: fat people are lazy, fat people eat too much, fat people need to learn how to exercise, need to learn how to suck it up, need to learn how to have discipline. And it's not fucking okay, okay? And if anything that I'm saying in this episode is you, and you're understanding now that that's something that you do, this isn't an attack on you. I once was this person as well. You've just been brainwashed by diet culture, okay? That's all it is. So have compassion with yourself. Understand that it's not you. You didn't make this shit up one day and decided to have these beliefs. It's not like Hitler with the Nazis. It's literally just you were consuming content that was in your environment, okay? And that's what's really important about like doing an analysis of your environment, whether it is online, whether it is the media, whether it is your personal environment. And a big thing as well is that we can be involved in conversations with people in our environment, office chat, all that kind of stuff, without even realising it. And I'm going to touch on that a little bit today. So if we bring it back to the health at every size movement, it is about understanding that health involves not only your physical health, okay, but your mental health and your emotional health and your spiritual health and all of the above. What diet culture focuses on the physical state. Even if technically the physical state is not all that healthy, it just looks healthy on the outside. The inside might be a very different story, okay? So health at every size is about understanding that we can meet the two in the middle, but I think it started off that way intentionally. It started off basically to help people with eating disorders and disordered eating, improving relationship with food, improving relationships in their bodies. And it really was a positive movement about like people being proud of their bodies, proud of who they are, no longer self-abandoning, no longer putting themselves down, no longer hating themselves, which is really, really fucking important. But now it has become this divide, like I said, where if you are body positive, it means you can't change your physical appearance. If you fully accept yourself, you shouldn't ever want to fix your appearance. And I say fixes because that's the quote that, or that's the term that people will use. You're not broken, you don't need to fix yourself, but that's what people will strive for. That's the mentality that they have. They want to change themselves in the hopes that they'll achieve whatever validation, approval, everything. So if you're in that camp, it's almost like a shame then if you want to actually improve your body composition in any way, okay? Versus diet culture, that you're shamed for actually being in a bigger body in the first place and for deprioritizing health over dieting or over punishing yourself with exercise and so on and so forth. Instead of actually listening to your body on certain days when it tells you that you don't need to train today, you need to rest a little bit more. But if you were in the diet culture kind of mentality, you push on, team no days off. It was a very toxic world. It was a very toxic mentality that I would have lived by as well. Okay, so I am the middleman. Okay, I am in the middle, and in the middle, it's not a place that is going to take off very, very quickly. Okay, it's not sexy, it doesn't sell, there's no catchphrases, there's no marketing ploys, whereas health at every size is a movement. Diet culture is a movement. Diet culture has so many different diets: keto, low carb, low fat, count if it fits your macros, all these kind of diets that you can identify with, I suppose, just like the body positivity movement or the anti-diet culture or health at every size movement. You are literally identifying with something, okay? We love to identify with things. We fucking love it. And that's what can be so hard when we want to move away from something, when we want to focus on behavior change, is that we're changing our identity. And if we don't have a new identity to go to, we can feel a little bit lost, we can feel a little bit uncertain, and that's what can trigger your nervous system and make this whole thing a little bit more complicated. Okay, so if you are trying to strive towards this middle ground, which I'll discuss now, you should work with a nutritionist and someone who knows what they're talking about, because they can make your life so much easier. Okay, pop me a DM. No, I'm joking. But essentially, the middle ground is where both can meet in the middle. There is room for improving your body composition, but not if it deprioritizes your health, okay? There is room for improving your health, but really making sure that you are doing it in a loving and respecting way towards your body, okay? You are absolutely allowed to change your body, but it cannot come from a place of hate. It has to come from a place of love where you focus on your health first. And you can do both, okay? I can tell you, you can get a girl that does both. No, you can actually do both. People don't seem to realize that. And it's because of these extreme camps, these extreme messages on Instagram, that it is difficult to find those people that are in the middle. And I think even a lot of people are still going on their journey. So you will see a lot of nutritionists or personal trainers that are trying to come more towards the middle, but they still do have a lot of conditioning that does influence the way that they teach or the way that they coach or the messages that they send on Instagram. And that's okay. I'm still learning. Like I said, even when I started working with my clients, I probably still had a lot of conditioning or a lot of projected beliefs that were still in my mind, that were still in my subconscious, that I actually needed to work through a little bit to make me a better coach. And I do believe that I am in that middle ground area now, and that I teach with compassion and teach my clients to have compassion. This is the thing, like we all think that, I suppose with either or, there's a lot of messages about like how we're not trying hard enough, how we're lazy, how we're not disciplined, how we need to whatever. And then you can go into so that could be the diet culture kind of mentality, I suppose. And then we go into the health at every size mentality that's kind of promoting the message that you don't need to do anything. And I do think for health, you do need to meet in the middle. You need to exercise to look after yourself. You need to eat an appropriate amount of calories. And I'm not just talking about in a calorie deficit, I'm talking about actually at your maintenance calories, where you're eating enough, where you're providing your body with fuel, where you're providing your body with enough nutrients, that you're not deprioritizing it just in the name of a diet, okay? And just to give you a context with that, like a lot of us will deprioritize health and focus on the diet, okay? Focus on the rules, the restrictions, the macros, whatever. And then we'll try and supplement with things to help fix whatever issues we have, okay? Just giving the example of the hair, skin and nails, okay? This is the biggest one with women, that we want hair, skin and nails products, whether it's internal products such as supplements, whether it's external products. We spend a lot of money on it, not realizing that the state of your hair, your skin and nails will come as a result of you actually looking after yourself and nourishing your body. My nails are so long right now. You can't see them on the podcast, but you can see them on the camera. But my hair is in really good condition. My skin has been on a journey. My PCOS, it had broken out last summer, and it's kind of coming and going at the moment, but it is getting better. And it's as a result of me prioritizing my health and really looking after myself, nutrient wise, calorie wise and stuff. And I'll speak about that in the PCOS podcast. Essentially, I lost a lot of weight, and because I was sick. So I lost a lot of weight because I was sick. Then I was going out quite a lot, and I suppose living in a hot climate, it is more difficult to eat. I find that my appetite is a lot lower when I'm in a hot climate versus when I'm living in Ireland, say. So that's something that I've had to go through and really work on low appetite strategies, really work on maximizing where I can get higher calories in other aspects. So really making sure that I'm having like smoothies with loads of calories in them, really having lots of ice cream if I want to have some ice cream, and really making sure that I'm eating frequently enough and getting in enough of my meals. So if my internal hunger and fullness cues are kind of a little bit skewed because of the external environment, such as the heat, I really need to make sure that I use other cues, such as the time, such as making sure I've gotten 4 meals in a day, and so on and so forth. And that's actually something my friend said to me recently, that they were so shocked I eat 4 meals a day. I'm like, bitch, I need to eat. I need to feel my body. I need to make sure I'm nourished. I need to make sure I've got energy for training. I need to make sure I've got energy for life and living and really just feeling my best. And there was a point in time where I would have even thought 3 meals a day was too much, where I would have tried to skimp out on the portion sizes in the meals and so on. And it's this fear that we have all been conditioned to believe, I suppose, that eating over 2,000 calories is too much, that eating over 3 meals is too much, that you must have soup for your lunch, because other than that you're having too much meals. Like even my dad thinks whenever I have a big meal for my lunch, he's like, oh, that's your dinner, sure. I'm like, no dad, it's not. And he's like, Tosh, but sure, you just had a big meal, you don't need another big meal. And it's this conditioning that can be passed down from generations, that we, I suppose, now are moving in a better direction, but we need to keep it going, okay? On that topic, I suppose I want to talk about how body image can come from family, can come from, I suppose, the college system and school and everything like that. And I just want to talk about the conditioning of, I was speaking about with a client recently, that she was fixated on how she looks, okay? But not just in the context of what her body looks like, her appearance looks like, but how she makes choices that will be dependent on what other people think of her, okay? How she will not go to work, how she won't ring in sick for work because she is scared of how it'll make her look. How she won't say no to social occasions because she's scared of how it'll make her look. How she is obsessed with her body and she's consumed by thoughts of food and disordered eating and all that stuff because of how she looks. And an aspect of it does come from parenting. That kind of came up in the conversation as well, that she was, her parents really cared about her and the family looked to other people. And that is a real generational thing, okay? I was having that thought process this morning, and I think we're really moving in a way that not only about our bodies, but about our lives, that we're doing things based on how they make us feel instead of how they make us look. How it makes you look is based on your ego, okay? And a lot of us are really running on autopilot with our ego, and our ego can be rampant. Our ego can really make us make choices that aren't from the heart, that aren't from our gut, that aren't from what we truly want in life, that are based on how we will look in society, how we will be positioned in society, and so on. So this is where spirituality comes into it, and I will have an episode on that. But this is where we need to understand our conditioning and really get to know ourselves at the core, who we are on a soul level, and who we are and what we actually want from life. So choices that might be based on how you feel could be you quitting your law degree 3 years into it because you decide, fuck that, this shit's not for me, I want to go travel, or I really want to go do something that lights me up creatively. And this is where that might not look good, that might not look the best thing. And this is why it's really important that you don't be afraid to step away from the herd, that you don't be afraid to make choices, even if the people in your environment don't support those choices or don't think it's the best thing to do, because they might not actually know what's best for you. They might just be doing things based on their conditioning, okay? So for example, 2020, I wanted to quit my job. I was going to quit my job. I was handing in my notice. I was setting up the health one. I was ready to just make a change and go after what felt right in me, what felt so good in my core and my gut, and what I knew lit me up to bits. Didn't give a fuck about the payment, the things that I was leaving behind, the job, the security, blah, blah, blah. I just knew that I was following this desire, this urge, that this was the right path for me. I had no proof. I had absolutely no proof. And a lot of people around me would have had the proof that this wasn't a good idea. The proof that this is a recession possibly coming now because of the pandemic, that people aren't going to be able to have money to invest in coaching, that how do you know that you're going to have a successful business, how, all the shoulds, the shouldn'ts, all the negativities rather than the possibilities. But all I could see was the possibilities. I did absolutely have points in time where I was shitting myself and I was wondering if this was the right decision for me. I was wondering was I really making a bad decision? Was this really something that I was, I don't know, living away with the fairies and just kind of hoping for the best, and maybe I was going to fuck everything up and come back to it in a few months' time and say, I've just ruined my life. But I decided to take that risk. If I had have listened to everyone else's beliefs around me, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be sitting here in Bali recording my podcast, helping other people understand about diet culture, helping other people change their lives, and I suppose just imparting that knowledge that I have learned and I'm passionate about sharing, okay? I wouldn't be here today. At the time, I was taking things personally. I was like, these people don't believe in me. These people don't see what I'm capable of. These people don't see the vision that I see. And that's okay. But what I've learned now is that wasn't actually them at the core. That's their projected beliefs. That's their conditioning. That's their fear. That's their ego. Okay. So this is where we need to understand who we are at the core versus who we are in our ego mind versus conditioning that has been passed down through the years. So back to body image. You might have conditioning that stands with you today still, that makes you, because it can be really deep in your subconscious, okay? That makes you make choices from a place of the subconscious, from autopilot, from your ego today. That's why I really, really encourage that you do journaling, that you do meditation, that you do therapy, that you sign up for courses and workshops that helps you expand and explore and understand yourself at the core. You can have a look at my journal and ebook and my workshop. I literally created it for that purpose. There's a section on self-discovery, visualization, manifestation, processing emotions, and so on. And then when you get closer to who you are at the core, you start making decisions that help you prioritize your needs, okay? So with diet culture, we have been told time and time again to deprioritize our needs, all in the strive for this perfect body, okay? When I give clients the example, when we're children, we have someone that provides our needs for us, okay? We scream, we cry, we make noises, we get our nappies changed, we get fed, all that good stuff, okay? What happens is then we become older, we start to be able to provide our own needs for us, and we should be able to take the lead from there. We then learn to deprioritize ourselves in search for external validation, approval, and all that stuff, okay? But it can start from a young age, okay? So when you're younger, diet culture can literally be there. When we are younger, we are told that we need to finish the food on our plate, so that means we ignore our fullness. We are told, so a classic liner from living in Ireland would be like, you won't grow up to be big and strong if you don't finish the food on your plate, okay? You need to be grateful for the food that's on your plate because there's kids in Africa who are starving and you don't get to have that, they don't get to have the food on the plate that you have. So this is where we can get these messages in our subconscious from a very young age that we need to deprioritize and ignore our cues, ignore the messages our bodies are sending us. Hunger as well. We're not allowed to have food until it's our dinner time. We're not allowed to have we're not allowed to have a snack right now because it will spoil our appetite for later, blah, blah, blah. We then continue as adults, and some people have been lucky enough to escape diet culture and they do learn how to eat intuitively, they do learn how to eat mindfully, and it's part of who they are. Other people, on the other hand, are so lost, they're yo-yo dieting, they're chronic dieting, and it just continues for the rest of their life. I literally have women reaching out to me in their 40s, still feeling a little bit lost and unsure where to go with diet culture, so they get started with coaching, and it's fucking amazing. So I want you to understand that if you are a little bit older, it's not too late, okay? It's really not. You can drastically improve your quality of life. You can feel so much more free in yourself, in your mind, in your mental health, your soul, every single day if you release diet culture, okay? So just to give you an idea of the trends with diet culture and dieting, so there would have been like a lot of detox teas, so people would know about that. Like people would still do detox juices and those kind of diets now. That's a diet, that's a trend with diet culture. Appetite suppressants is a big thing. Fat burners were a big thing. Low carb, keto is a big thing, and that's still there very much with PCOS. A lot of people think that you need to go keto and cut out carbs altogether with PCOS, and you absolutely do not. That's just another bit of diet culture sprinkling its way into PCOS, sprinkling that bullshit all over PCOS, okay? And I'll talk about that in the PCOS episode in more depth. So what it actually is what it is that we can actually be constantly thinking the next thing is what's going to make us happy, is what's going to get us to that body shape, that body size. We're being sold this message with false hope that we're going to look like XYZ, not understanding that the transformation photos that are used in these diet culture marketing ads, they're curated and they're false. You could literally create one right here, right now. And if you don't already follow these Instagram accounts that are really, really good, that promote these messages, I highly recommend that you start to shift your online world, okay? There's amazing accounts. I can't even think of them at the top of my name. There's Alex LDN. There's Dana Mercer. Do you know what? I'll write some in the show notes because I can do that now because I have a podcast. I'll have a look at some in the show notes, and I really encourage that you follow these pages. Obviously, I try to promote that as much as possible on my page, but I do have that middle ground where I do need to consider body composition for my clients as well. I don't promote weight loss on my page. My belief is that weight loss can happen as a byproduct of prioritizing your health first, okay? And that's where my priorities lie. If I have clients that come to me straight away just looking for weight loss, just brainwashed by diet culture, I spend a good bit of time working on the relationship with food and their body first. And it scares them, it terrifies them. Why can't I be dieting? Why can't I be on a diet? Why can't I have these rules? It's like this certainty that we want to feel, this ease and this peace of this control, like I mentioned in the previous episode, that it's going to make us feel better. Honey, it's not going to make you feel better. Stop looking for a diet, okay? Stop looking for the next best thing. Stop looking for that thing that you think is going to give you or make you feel how you want to feel. It's not. What's going to make you feel better is working on your relationship with food, deleting Any social media account that just talks about dieting all the time, it's fucking toxic. Really removing the language that you use around diet culture. And I suppose this brings me on to this topic of commenting on other people's appearance, okay? I try my best to not comment on people's appearance anymore, okay? And it can be difficult because I do want to tell people that they look great, but sometimes I know that their habits that have led them to get to where they are at that moment in time and how they look might not be all that helpful. So I don't want to encourage that, and I don't want to validate that, because like I said in the previous episode, I had always been a skinny gal when I was younger. Then I went through the journey of gaining a little bit more weight. Then when I was practicing these unhealthy behaviors where people were validating my appearance, constantly giving me approval and compliments, I was then encouraged to keep going with my unhealthy behaviors, even though it wasn't actually serving me or wasn't actually healthy. But it was this external validation, this external approval that kept me going, okay? And then obviously when it wasn't there, I felt shit about myself. So this is the thing. You can have an absence of this approval and you can actually feel really fucking shit. So it's constantly like looking for this. You get a little bit of a high, little bit of a boost, and you're back down to where you started. So if we can just park that, remove that, get yourself out of this world, out of this headspace, and back into actually prioritizing your health, you can actually start to move forward. You can actually get off that hamster wheel and stop feeling like you're fighting against yourself and fighting against your body. So that is a big thing. And I suppose as a boundary, you can stop conversations with people that are talking about other people's bodies as well. It is gossiping at the end of the day. It may just be people projecting their own insecurities, and that's fine too. But you can put a boundary in place to say, look, I love you. I don't want to have any sort of conflict here, but I just don't want to talk about this today, if that's okay. I really just want to set a boundary, and I'm not comfortable talking about these conversations. There's ways to do it in an emotionally mature way where you don't hurt people's feelings, but I suppose some people, you need to understand that they may just be so balls deep in diet culture, they might be blissfully unaware of those habits and behaviors, of how they're actually toxic or how they're actually not helpful for you or for them. But you, like I said, you are responsible to put your own boundaries in place, and you can do that. So it can be difficult then, I suppose, if you do want to give people compliments. But I suppose we can move towards celebrating people for who they are, their whole self, rather than just their appearance. A lot of us really think that what makes us great is how we look, okay? But it's not. If you think about the person that you love the most, okay, I love getting clients to do this exercise, a person in your life that you really, really appreciate and really value, sit down and have a think about, like, do this as a journal exercise. What is it about them that you love? It's definitely not their appearance. It's probably their energy, how they make you feel, how they're caring, how they're funny, how they're smart, how they bring you, they're thoughtful, how whatever. There's gonna be something that's more to them than just their appearance, and that's how people feel about you, okay? We all think that the only great thing about us, or we're not that great because our appearance isn't that great that day. We put ourselves down, and that's just not the truth. So you can comment on people's energy, you can comment on how people make you feel, you can tell them that you love being around them. That's a much more heartfelt compliment than it is to say you look great today. I do think that there's probably room for both, and I'm still toying with this conversation myself, that I suppose we should be able to compliment people and should be able to give them that little bit of a boost. But I do think that we just shouldn't be reliant on other people to do that. We should be able to do that ourselves. And this kind of brings me on to my last topic of self-talk, okay? Self-talk. We all talk to ourselves like we're an absolute asshole, okay? If you were to spend the time with someone else that spoke to you the way that you speak to yourself, you would not want to be around that person, or you would just feel like shit because you'd start to internalize that that's how other people think about you. And that's the same with that script that's running in your mind. And I want to help you understand that you don't have to keep that script going. You can change the narrative. This brings me on to the body positive versus body acceptance, okay? Self-love versus self-acceptance. A lot of us know about this movement of being body positive, of self-love, of really just hyping ourselves up to fuck. Being your own hype man, okay? Amazing movement. We should all be striving for that. But we can have days where we don't really feel all that great, where self-love is just, it's the bar is too high for that day, and that's fine. But you cannot go to a place of self-hate. You cannot go to a place where you're putting yourself with demeaning comments and you're literally just being an asshole to yourself, okay? You're being an absolute raging bitch to yourself. You need to understand as well that that internal voice isn't the real you, okay? A lot of the time it is internalized messages from your external environment, literally from when you were a wee nipper right up until the age you are now, okay? And that's where challenging your mindset, that's where doing exploration with journaling, therapy, all that stuff can really, really help and support you. Affirmations are brilliant, but affirmations will only get you so far. You need to really work on the subconscious. You need to do the deep work, okay? But to get yourself to a place of self-love, you need to understand that you work on self-acceptance first. Okay, a lot of us are trying to jump from self-hate to self-love, not understanding there's that middle ground, not understanding that there's a little bit of work that needs to be done for you to stop the self-hate, for you to stop that negative self-talk. You just need to bring yourself to a place of neutrality about your body, about yourself, about your life, okay? That's where you need to start. And that's what I will give everyone the task for today, is just really the next time that negative self-talk pops up, don't entertain it. Just 3, 2, 1, shut the fuck up. That's what you can say to yourself, compassionately, of course. You can just say 3, 2, 1, not having it. What can help as well, in some of the research they have, I suppose some of the participants in the research studies from eating disorders and from just general body positivity, what they have done is helping them understand that they can give the voice in their head a different name. So if that works for you, that might be helpful. I liked to bring mine back to meditation, where you understand that I'm not my thoughts, I'm not the voice that's in my head, and I can actually separate myself from that. And sometimes it can be good to counteract it. So I'll give you a fun fact that it takes 3 times the amount of positivity for us to reverse something of negative context, okay? So say, for example, you say, I hate my legs. You need to give yourself 3 compliments or 3 affirmations for you to reverse that negative state that you have, for you to be able to feel in a more of a positive state. And that's because we seek negativity in our environment. We seek danger to do with our nervous system, to do with protection, okay? And again, we can understand that we're just trying to keep ourselves safe, but we can also understand that we don't need to keep ourselves safe. There's nothing that we're in danger from. We don't need to protect ourselves. We just need to help ourselves work through it and get to a place of neutrality. So sometimes it is good to counteract that, to really be like, no, bitch, we're not having that negative self-talk today. I'm going to compliment myself. I'm going to tell myself that's something that I really, really like about myself. I'm going to help myself feel that little bit better. But sometimes the inner voice can actually be so consuming, can actually be really loud, that it just helps to go neutral. It just helps to go silent. It just helps to meditate and release, okay? So those are 2 strategies I can give you on working on positive body image, positive self-talk. But I also want you to understand that it is about how you feel, okay? It's about how you feel, about how you look, not about how you look. And this is what we need to move towards. You feeling better in your body. And you feeling better in your body isn't just you complimenting yourself in the mirror. You feeling better about your body is you eating enough food so you've got energy. Eating enough food so you've got energy to support your hormones. Having a regular menstrual cycle so you can actually experience the peaks and the troughs of both estrogen and progesterone. You actually not talking to yourself like a sack of shit all day so you can have positive mental health. You surrounding yourself by people that make you feel good. And again, not being reliant on those people to make you feel good, them adding to you already making yourself feel good. We need to look at body image holistically. We need to look at health holistically. We need to look at how our external environment influences our internal environment. So, final task, there's been so many practical things in this conversation today. But I suppose final task is go have a look at your social media. Go unfollow any accounts that make you feel like shit. Just go and do it. Doesn't matter if you like them. Doesn't matter if you're attached to them or whatever. Just cut it. Because you are literally continuing that cycle of you're exposing yourself to stuff that makes you feel like shit on a daily basis. That's on you. Okay? Hard pill to swallow, but that's on you. At the same time, you can make your experience on social media a much more positive place if you follow people that light you up, that inspire you, that encourage you, that give you nice little quotes every day that make you feel good, that have funny videos online as well, okay? So that's it for today's episode. I really hope that you found a lot of value from this episode, because it is clearly something that I'm really passionate about. As like I said, I was so brainwashed by it all at a point in time that I didn't realize how fucked up my choices were, how fucked up my decisions were. So as always, please, if you found this useful, share it with somebody, because they can learn something for this, and then that can help them on their self-development journey. Also, I'd really appreciate if you could leave some feedback in the review section and subscribe to the podcast as well. You can find me, of course, on Instagram at thehealthhun, and my website is www.thehealthhun.com. So hope you loved it. Thanks a million, and see you on the next one.